Hello, everyone. Welcome to Team 71 Strategic Review on Airbnb for Washington State University. Let's dive in. Airbnb was founded in San Francisco 2008 as a commission-based lodging option. Airbnb focused on bringing new and interesting lodging accommodations to customers that provide different amenities and services other than the options available through competitors. This entire process is brought to the consumer through an online operating platform that connects the homeowner and the customer together. During COVID-19, many restrictions on social distancing, cleaning, and travel has affected Airbnb from making a steady revenue, and they will need a solid strategy to gain what was lost during the pandemic. The founders of Airbnb were Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, who started the company by renting out a mattress on their living room floor in the summer of 2008. Airbnb went public December of 2020 with the ticker symbol of ABNB under NASDAQ, currently averaging between 140 and 150 US dollars per share. During the pandemic, Airbnb has still been able to make revenue to the point of getting $3.3 billion with 5,000 plus employees worldwide and has expanded offerings for customers to continue to grow through changes like homes, apartments, and private rooms, with new amenities and luxury options available. The strategy that is driving Airbnb's organizational structure comes from the CEO, being our model is inherently adaptable, which is something they pride themselves on. Airbnb has adopted a very adaptable and quick business structure, which has helped them to continue to make changes and pivot when necessary in order to adjust to the market. This is seen with how COVID has forced new regulations that directly go against what Airbnb comprises of. These changes come from two key factors on how Airbnb operates, which is gaining new suggestions from the bottom up, since those renting out and working closely with the service point are seeing where the most changes are needed, and from the village mentality of employees. Airbnb encourages crossover from other departments within the organization to make changes quickly. This all relates back to how they can focus and improve the ease and experience of hosts, which is crucial as they ramp up operations since the start of COVID. Airbnb's niche is providing what customers call a home away from home, where people can travel and experience a culture and home-like atmosphere that is welcoming. Bookings are made on mobile and web-based applications for ease of use, but beyond the booking experience, very little technology is involved. Though the company does not produce or manufacture goods, green practices are still performed by a majority of hosts to promote sustainability. Airbnb is faced with many legal challenges that require the business to be proactive. According to the 10-K filed with the SEC, Airbnb is subject to laws, regulations, and rules that affect the short-term and home sharing business at city, state, and county levels. Consequently, there are a number of large legal suits against Airbnb surrounding the lack of follow-through with local laws. New laws are in the works that may cause for reassessment of the business model. In respect to the political situation, Airbnb operates within the shared economy model. It poses threat to industrial norms in some regions. In response to this, many regions are setting limits and laws against short-term rentals. The shared economy model benefits both renters and hosts. However, more host sites need to become available to meet the anticipated consumer demand. In 2020, hosts saw a significant increase in cancellations and overall demand, causing the company to lose significant amounts of revenue. However, vaccination rates have increased and the number of COVID cases has declined, which is leading to an increase in demand. Airbnb primarily operates in the lodging and accommodations industry. This industry consists of businesses that are primarily engaged in providing short-term lodging. Factors that influence the industry includes the bargaining power of buyers and sellers, the threat of new entrants, the threat of substitutes, and interfirm rivalries. Buyers have high bargaining power because the cost of switching to similar solutions is so low. Vrbo, Booking.com, and hotels are all viable options and pricing information is easily accessible via the internet. Airbnb suppliers, aka hosts, also have high bargaining power because Airbnb is heavily reliant on the availability of host homes. Airbnb anticipates that there will be an uptick in travelers following the COVID-19 pandemic as more Americans are getting vaccinated and state restrictions are easing. Airbnb felt the power of their suppliers during COVID as competitors approach hosts directly to cross-list their properties with them, which many did. The threat of new entrants is low to moderate. Competitive solutions are anticipated to increase with the reopening of public locations. Customers may be looking for competitors that have more robust safety policies and point programs that have free visits with frequent stays. Barriers to enter the market are substantial due to the technology needed and the importance of creating brand awareness. A new competitor would also require significant funds to research local, regional, and national laws throughout the world. Airbnb faces a high threat of substitutes as the internet creates an environment where the cost of switching is minimal. There is also no exclusivity between Airbnb and its hosts, so the same property could be available on Airbnb as well as competitor websites. Interfirm rivalry is moderate. The web-based short-term rental industry is broad with varying options that can be evaluated based on the consumer's traveling needs. In 2020, Airbnb held around 20% of this market. Airbnb must compete both to supply customers with rental options at their destination as well as competing with other online platforms to be the portal of choice for hosts to list their property. Most recently, the biggest barrier to Airbnb's success has been limitations and widespread concern about travel safety. When COVID-19 first broke out, travel across the globe shut down almost entirely. Airbnb has worked to redesign their cleaning policies for hosts and guests, creating Airbnb's enhanced cleaning protocol with assistance from experts. They also collaborated with Sherpa, a tool that allows travelers to see live updates and travel restriction information. They've worked to combat the loss of profits by launching a campaign focused on the host. Airbnb has done a better job of catering their offerings specifically to the current climate in comparison to their closest competitor, Vrbo. Airbnb's main threat was caused by the increase in price for homes throughout the U.S. As prices have skyrocketed, the wave of overvalued homes could lead many investors to cash out of their rentals, which could reduce the overall availability of rentals to Airbnb. Also, price increases could prevent potential investors from buying new properties to be rented out. This challenges Airbnb's strategy because they do not own any of these properties that they rent. Their business model is completely dependent on host availability to generate revenue. The top 3 competitors to Airbnb are Expedia, TripAdvisor, and the Hilton Hotels and Resorts. All these competitors engage in the hospitality and accommodations industry. However, a closer look into these competitors show that there is not as much market overlap as previously anticipated. Under the Expedia umbrella, Vrbo has the most market overlap to Airbnb, since it operates as an online marketplace for the alternative accommodations industry. It has a similar platform structure. Its customers are also essentially the same since Vrbo markets to hosts and guests. Vrbo also operates in the same geographic areas as Airbnb since its locations are also based on the host listings. To Airbnb, this overlap is incredibly important since Vrbo offers essentially the same service as Airbnb. Market overlap with Hilton is very superficial since Hilton's market segment is mainly managing and franchising hotels, while Airbnb focuses mainly on connecting to hosts and guests and providing guests with alternative accommodations. In a broader sense, the shared hospitality market is a slight concern to Airbnb, since consumers could turn to Hilton for accommodations. Airbnb is a disruptor to the hotel business by offering alternative accommodations. It is not in the hotel industry. TripAdvisor has no market overlap with Airbnb, as they are not classified as an alternative accommodation company. Since there is no market overlap between Airbnb and TripAdvisor, Airbnb does not need to focus on competition from TripAdvisor. They are both looking for the same consumers, aka travelers, but with no direct overlap, TripAdvisor and Airbnb are not true competitors. At a glance, the success factors between all 4 companies are similar in that they all offer a wide range of accommodations for guests, incorporate user-friendly technology, brand reputation, and provide quality service. However, Each company seems to have prioritized certain factors. Airbnb experienced its success by honing in on the human aspect of traveling. This includes global scale and geographic reach, the strength and loyalty of the host and guest community, organic traffic, platform functionality, including community support, payments, and host protections. Expedia's success was realized by offering a one-stop shop for all travel-related needs, such as airline tickets, lodging, car rentals, cruises, insurance, and other travel needs, such as airport transfers, tickets to attractions, and tours. TripAdvisor's success was generated from focusing exclusively on online travel and travel-related activity and making it easier for consumers to research destinations and experiences, as well as read and contribute to user-generated content. Hilton appears to have achieved most of its success by providing elevated aesthetics and amenities, strategic locations, and a global loyalty reward system. Expedia's strategy is to continue to offer a greater ability to plan and execute traveling through their expansive portfolio offerings, and they continue to utilize their platform to make this process easier for the consumer searching. Their goal is to make sure that they can institute an easy way of using their platform to gain leverage over other competitors. Expedia uses its expansive portfolio to offer lower prices and provide flexibility to match competitor prices as needed. TripAdvisor's strategy is to increase engagement and continue to expand the business by continuing to make innovations to the online platform that will increase the value and ease of usage while planning their trip. Hilton's strategy is to grow their franchise and influence of their hotels and hospitality locations throughout the globe to expand their business. Hilton offers extensive hotel and hospitality businesses globally. Services provided under the Hilton name are assimilated with the best for all levels of accommodation: basic, mid-range, and luxury. COVID-19 disrupted revenue streams throughout the travel industry. Revenues for Airbnb and its three competitors have decreased between the years of 2020 and 2021. Costs have respectively decreased since each company scaled back staff and resources. Analysis of revenues reported for the year indicated that Hilton has the highest drop in revenue, while Airbnb has the lowest. One of the biggest issues facing Airbnb currently is an increase in negative consumer reviews. Hidden fees and inability to reschedule plans during the pandemic and inappropriate use of Airbnbs are some of the main drivers of this. Airbnb provided almost no flexibility when COVID-19 first hit, and many people were left paying for Airbnbs that they never even used. Due to all the negative publicity, consumers have started to look elsewhere, which has led to more competition from rivals like Vrbo and hotel chains. To address major issues, Airbnb needs to change their approach to handling complaints and interacting with customers. First, they need to be more flexible with customers and provide alternative solutions during this pandemic. Whether it's refunds, free changes, or future discounts, Airbnb needs to respond more appropriately to the pandemic. They also need to find ways to differentiate their product from competitors. While there is not a lot of distinguishing features between Airbnb and Vrbo, these additional accommodations and flexibility could make the difference to the consumer. The last adjustment they need to make is being more transparent with their consumers. The amount of fees and taxes added onto the final service adds up to doubling or even tripling the cost in some scenarios. Airbnb needs to be more upfront about these fees or find ways to reduce them or eliminate some of them. Airbnb needs to revisit the strategic focus, operations, and marketing success factors. They have lost sight of delivering a superior consumer value and need to return to the basics. One of the best ways to do this is split Airbnb into two separate business units. This would allow more specific interaction on each individual issue and would likely lead to reduced fees for the customers. This would also split hosts and users into different business units and give Airbnb the opportunity to address each side of the business separately. Another business unit could be dedicated to COVID-19 protocols and ensuring that hosts and users are following applicable guidelines. Providing a center to monitor COVID complaints could help ease the customer fears regarding COVID-19 and travel. Rebuilding trust with consumers will not be cheap and will take a considerable amount of time to repair. The best method of doing this will be to funnel resources into marketing and directly address the issues that consumers face. Because Airbnb has two different customer bases, hosts and users, it will be difficult to address both of their needs. In order to reduce the fees for the guests, it would increase the fee for the host and vice versa. Airbnb should step in and cover some of these fees to make their rates more comparable to hosts and their competitors. That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for listening to our strategic review on Airbnb. We look forward to hearing your feedback.